Greetings and welcome back to Haftarot, the weekly video cast in which we take a look at the upcoming week's Haftara, the basic message of that Haftara, and the association with the Kriyat Torah that it follows. My name is Yitzchak Etshalom, and I'm delighted to be studying with you at our very last Shabbat of the year in Parashat Nitzavim, the Haftara that we're going to read, which is number 7 of the 7 Haftarot of consolation. Sos Asis, which, by the way, in many communities is also read any time of the year when a chatan has his aliyah during the Shabbat of celebration after the wedding, and which is called Shabbat Chatan, gets this Haftara. And again, the association of the Haftara to the Kriyat Torah is tenuous, is something that Darshanim can certainly create, but is not really inherent because, again, we are reading these Haftarot as part of the process of consolation. And you can see this is a very long Haftara of consolation. It starts in chapter 61 of Yeshayahu, ends in chapter 63. All of chapter 62 is there, although it's relatively short. Here's the entire Haftara. And I wanted to take a look at one passage at the very end. And then we're going to flip back and take a look at some nuances of the text. The very last pasuk is B'chol tsaratam lo tsar. Now, if you take a look at the word tsaratam at the bottom of the page, you can see that the word lo is there in very faint letters spelled lamed aleph. And then it's in regular letters, lamed vav. B'chol tsaratam lo tsar. How would we translate that? Well, that would very much depend on whether we read it with an aleph or with a vav. B'chol tsaratam lo tsar with an aleph means when they're all in trouble, he's not in trouble. When Am Yisrael's in pain, God's not in pain. Okay, I'm happy that God's not in pain, but that doesn't exactly create an association or sympathy. If we read it with a vav, we get the exact opposite message. B'chol tsaratam lo tsar. Whenever they're in pain, he's in pain. Very powerful. But which is it? And why are there two versions of the text? What does that mean? So just take a look at the next phrase, and then we're going to flip up from him. Umalach panav hoshiam. His malach, the malach who sees God's face, is the one who saves them. So it sounds like this is a soteriological, a salvation text, something very positive. So let's take a look. We have a phenomenon throughout Tanakh known as Kri Uchtiv. Kri Uchtiv means that there are some words that are written in the text, Ktiv, but they're not read that way. They're read differently. In some cases, we even have extreme situations where a word is written in the text and we totally skip it, like in Malachim Bet Parakeh, the word na. And sometimes there are whole words that are absent that we put in, like in Ruth Perak Gimel, Eli. That's called Krin v'lo Ktivan, Ktivan v'lo Karyan, things that are written, not read. And it's all a tradition about whether or not to include the word or to bypass a word that is there. However, the more common phenomenon of Kri Uchtiv is what we have in front of us, which is a word that is written one way in the text, but is read differently. Now, in most cases, the Kri Uchtiv actually is sounded out differently. So you have the word Yach, which is read Yad in Shmuel Aleph, Perak Daled, and other phenomena of that sort. And the Radak explains in his introduction to Sefer Yeshua that simply what happened was when they returned from the exile of Bavel, they found in the scrolls two different versions of the text. So they maintained the less likely version as the written version and the more likely version as the way that it should be read. That's the Radak's explanation of Kri Uchtiv. But here we have a more bizarre thing, because the word lo, by the way, this same thing happens in Vayikra Chatei, where the word lo is written Lamed Aleph and read Lamed Vav. Here it's, again, read and written the same exact way. So what's up? And the change, of course, is a diametric change of 180 degrees. So how do we understand that? So the Gemara in Masechet Sota addresses this issue and says the following. And to give the background, the Mishnah in the 5th parak of Sota has a series of drashot that were given bo bayom, which according to some traditions means the day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azari was installed as the head of the yeshiva in Yavne. And bo bayom darash Rabbi Shua ben Horkonos that Eov worshiped God out of love. How do we know that? Because Eov said, Lu yiktaleni lo ayachel. Even if God is going to kill me, lo ayachel. Now, lo ayachel, if we read it with a Vav means I will hope to him, I will pray to God. But if we read it with an Aleph, it means I will no longer pray to God. Two opposite messages. Okay, so the Gemara comments, V'lech say hi lo iba lamed aleph k'tiv lohu. Why don't we just take a look at the text in Eov and see if lamed aleph or lamed vav is written? Iba lamed vav k'tiv lohu. It's a very simple solution. You can see the English on the left side. V'chol heicha dichtiv lamed aleph lohu. By the way, is every lamed aleph negation, lo, not? Elameata b'chol tzaratam lo tzar dichtiv lamed aleph hachinami delohu. And they challenge that from our pasuk and say, are you going to tell me that when it says that in all of their pain, he's not in pain, it should be he's not in pain? That the lamed aleph should really mean not? If you're going to say, well, that's the message of the pasuk that God is separated from and doesn't feel their pain. But the next phrase is, and his angel saves them, which means he does feel the pain. So the Gemara concludes that lo, lamed aleph, can be understood both ways, meaning not and with him, which are two opposites. Very interesting and a little bit of a conundrum, because then words stop losing their meaning if they can mean it, the word and it's opposite. I heard once a beautiful explanation to this contradiction, inherent contradiction in the word lo here. B'chol tzaratam lo tzar. We start off with this premise. B'chol tzaratam lo tzar. In all of their pain, he's in pain. If Am Yisrael is in pain, God is in pain. But if God is in pain, then ultimately, of course, God is going to redeem, which means ultimately there is no pain. So b'chol tzaratam lo tzar should be read both ways. And it's an explanation for the Kriyot Tiv that was intended to be understood both ways. Starting out b'chol tzaratam lo tzar with a vav. In all of their pain, he's in pain. And as a result of that, b'chol tzaratam lo tzar. In all of their pain, there is no pain. Because if God feels the pain, then he's going to redeem, and there is no pain at all. Interesting as a take is, of course, this is the Haftara, the last words from the Nevi'im that we're going to read this year before Rosh Hashanah. It's the last words of the Nevi'im that we're going to read publicly in the month of Elul. And if you take a look at, and it's not something I generally engage in, but here I think it's an interesting kind of cute observation. You take the word lo with an aleph and you take the word lo with a vav and mix the letters up and you get Elul. But on a deeper level, I think that's what's happening. This is a time in which we understand that God feels the pain that we're going through, whatever the pain may be on a personal level, on a family level, on a communal level, on a national level, and maybe today on a global level. And as a result of that, ultimately, lo tsar. Ultimately, there is no pain because we know that God is attentive, God is going to redeem, and that ultimately the salvation is there for us. So I want to wish everybody a k'tiva v'chatima tova, a shana tova, and we'll meet at the beginning of the year as we continue with our study of the Haftarot. Shabbat Shalom.